Hi, this is your host with Minute Earth. Can't talk Arctic without mentioning polar bears. These big, beautiful beasts are so iconic that they refeatured on everything from climate change pamphlets to Marvel Comics to this coin, which is actually an Irish 5-pound note. But it's not just their good looks that make them so well known. It's also their extreme environment, their specialized adaptations, and of course their walk. Yeah, that too. There are only an estimated 26,000 or so polar bears left in the wild. All of them live in the Arctic Circle, where they spend most of their time on sea ice, which they use as a platform to hunt for their favorite food, well, seals. The bears can't eat enough fish or other marine life to meet their high energy needs. And while they do occasionally dine on berries, their preferred meal is a nice juicy seal. Now, polar bears have evolved a bunch of different ways to capture their prey. Some are more active during the day and stalk their meals along the ice edges, where the fresh ice meets the open water. Others are more active at night and wait near the breathing holes that seals make in the ice to surface and then nom them. Still others will simply wait patiently on the ice for a seal to come up to breathe and then make their move. And since a polar bear has got nothing better to do than wait for the seal to come back up, they can be super patient. One researcher recorded a polar bear making 315 such attempts over 48 days. That's like the definition of commitment. In fact, when there's lots of food around, polar bears will often cache or store their food for later. This could be because they and eat all the seals right away, or because they want to save their energy for when there's no food around. And while it might seem weird for a predator to stash its prey, this behavior is actually pretty common in the animal world. But what makes a polar bear is not just their diet or their hunting techniques, it's also their walk. You know that one? That thing that they do? We now know why they do it. Biologists studying polar bears in the wild noticed that the bears would shake their booty after a swim, but they didn't really pay much attention to it. But in 2019, researchers at the University of Alberta decided to take a closer look. They set up cameras to record polar bears at 2 sites in Canada's Hudson Bay. Then they waded into the water, wearing polar bear costumes. Because what's the best way to study animal behavior? By dressing up like that animal oneself and joining in, of course. The researchers shook their human booties up and down and side to side to mimic the various polar bear walks. Then they watched as the real polar bears watching the show in the wild tried to copy them. What they found was that the bears in the study generally shook their butts in the same way as the humans. They even shook them at the same frequency, about half a shake per second. And this was true whether the bears were shaking it solo or with a partner. So why do they do this? One idea is that the booty shake helps get rid of excess water that builds up in their fur as they swim. You see, polar bears don't have the sleek, streamlined bodies that you might expect an excellent swimmer to have. Instead, they've got the body shape and fur of a land mammal. So as they paddle around, water gets trapped in all that fur. If it stays there too long, it can actually make the bear hypothermic, so shaking it off is probably a good strategy. Not only does the booty shake help remove water from their fur, it may also help remove excess air. When the bears dive underwater to shake themselves dry, they swallow air, which can make it harder for them to dive again soon after. By getting rid of that air, they can keep more of that yummy oxygen in their lungs and lessen their fur. Of course, this is all just our best guess based on observations. There's no way to ask a polar bear why they do what they do. But one thing is clear, these bears and their booty shakes are worth protecting. Speaking of things that are worth protecting, if you love learning stuff from the comfort of your own home, then I've got some great news for you. That's 1 minute. I'll see you next time.